Today's guest is Lori Marie. Lori is the founder of the 8th House Mystery School and Divine 24. She works as a shaman, astrologer, and an author, helping people reconnect with their inner knowing and stepping into alignment with the reality they're creating. And what makes this conversation unique is that I'm not just interviewing Lori today, I'm stepping into this work alongside with her. So this is less of a distant conversation, more of a real-time look at what this work actually looks like, feels like. So welcome to the Awakened Croud Podcast. Lori, how are you?
I am wonderful, Brandon. Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm really excited. I'm really glad we're going to have this conversation because this is a little different than the first 9 shows of the Awakened Croud podcast, because I'm not just talking to you as a guest. Like I said, we're going to get into your background, who you are, and the 8th House Mystery School, which I am beyond excited to have gotten the calling to respond to your message and to come and teach within the school. I love teaching. It is a very comfortable thing for me. So like I said, I'm really excited. And the one thing that stood out right away is how you put it as really a co-creation project. You know, you got the call and, are laying the physical grounding work, if you will, but it's going to be a collective effort in building this with some great people. So why don't you start off, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can get into the 8th House Mystery School.
Absolutely. I'm Lori Marie. I am the owner of Divine 24. I am currently, astrology is my second language, and that's, where everything sort of starts for me. At 14, I had my first astrology book given to me, Linda Goodman's Love Signs, first book for a 14-year-old. It was well written and very fairy tale-ish, and it sucked me in. And that literally would have to be labeled as the beginning of my journey. And so life happens for all of us. And, I had quite a few various spiritual awakenings, but at a really young age, in my early 20s, I found a hole in the wall metaphysical shop that did a collaborative, and it's similar to what we're building with the 8th House Mystery School. It was a collaboration of partners who came together and all had their own skills to expand the awareness of us young people that were, in these meditation groups. So I learned in a short period of time all about chakra systems and channeling. I personally channeled in front of the class. I learned how to do automatic writing and then really tap into and hone my spirituality. We would listen to these high vibe audio tapes literally, because
right.
It was in the 90s, and
I remember those days.
Yeah, and so it was meant for it to raise our frequency, and our meditation instructor kept saying, you're ascending, and I was like, what is he talking about? What is it? What are we ascending to? What's happening? What's going on? And we did not get it. I would say not until much later in my journey did I realize what's really happening. Your podcast is called The Awakened Croud. And so I was awakened back then, but I didn't know what to. So, yeah.
Is that what you meant by, because, we hear this a lot on social media, multiple spiritual awakenings. And for me, I have the perspective of, it's an ever ongoing process in this current 3D life, So is that what you meant by multiple spiritual awakenings? Like, you knew but really didn't, and then maybe a little bit of a gap, and then things kind of progressed for you with that?
I think it's more of, how you have the eye there and it's wide open.
Yes.
I think it's like the opening of your eye. And for a minute, when your eye opens and you get this like grand aha, where suddenly the world looks entirely different because you're seeing it from a new perspective, and you start to realize so much more is going on. I would consider that 100% a spiritual awakening. And the fact that you pursue life from this new perspective, even more so. But as you stated, I guess some people consider it much different, but I feel like pivotal. So I wrote down the other day, I journal a lot, and that is
me
actually,
too.
yeah, that's how we came to where we are today. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but I was journaling, and I was writing down when I had my awakenings, and I realized that the real awakenings, the very first one that it was perfect timing, of course, was right around Katrina, when Katrina hit, and life looked so different back then. And the next one was 9/11. I literally started seeing number patterns around 9/11, except it was before 9/11 hit, and I was seeing 911 on the clock all the time.
Wow.
And yeah, it was really, I didn't get it. I got on Ask Jeeves, and I asked him. I was like, "What's going on?" And it was a thing. People were actually seeing number patterns back in the 90s or in the early 2000s. And then the next one I would say was COVID. During COVID, I had so much time to self-reflect, and I was invited to explore psychedelics and plant medicine, and the epitome of life just will never be the same. And I am not the same. I've spent the last probably 4 years integrating all of that wisdom that was sort of just awakened inside of me to be now. The last ceremony I went to was like about 2 years ago, and Spirit was like, "You're not here for yourself. You're here to support your friends." It was in the ceremony. And then I said, "Well, then what do I need to take away from this moment?" And he said, "Shamanism." And I remember thinking, who am I
Sure.
to fill those shoes? Shaman? What? No.
Yeah.
And so it took me a really long time until I flow. So the universe brought me messages all on its own, because I did shun it. And it guided me to books on understanding what shamanism actually was, and then different posts and theories out there. And I really started to realize that all shamanism is being a co-creator of reality and being able to shift multidimensionally. And so since I work with the quantum realm, and I have had some very unique experiences in sleep, I use the multiple realms in my work with my clients. So astrology is my second language. It'll never go away. It's my passion. I infuse it into all my, sessions with my clients. But really what it boils down to is tapping into the energy field with my clients, helping them feel safe, and then allowing them to self-explore and figure out like what their next steps are. But it always ends with the same thing, and that's their passion. And a lot of people, they have no idea what they're passionate about. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing or what they love, or they know that they need to go to work. They know they need to make money. They know they have responsibility, and then they know their loops, their life, pattern loops, but they never really realize that the goal really is to find what your heart wants to do in the world. And
absolutely.
So, Eighth House Mystery School found its way, and I was channel journaling one day about nothing to do with Eighth House Mystery School. I was talking about something way off topic, and it just popped up. It literally said Eighth House Mystery School. And I was like, I was confused, because I had this big aha, like, yeah, I want to do that. But at the same time, I was like, we're not talking about that right now. So I put it on the burner, and I waited for the universe to start giving me the signs, the messages. And what they were telling me is that, and what the basis of our school's mission is that first foundation, and then community, and then connection, and then the rest will follow. And that because I'm such a doer, they're like, not this time, Lori. The right people will come into place. All the right hearts will align, and everybody will do what they need to do in order to bring wisdom at this time. So like we just said, COVID, and then, our current state of our world is really awakening people to wanting to know more about what's going on. Right.
Absolutely.
And so this has to be the absolute best time to offer a safe community for people who are used to algorithms and, religion, in their minds, in the back of their minds all the time, where the focus can genuinely be for them to be their authentic self and learn about the things they're passionate about or they're curious about, because they might not even know it's a passion yet. Right. and
But I
explore.
think that's sorry. I think that is because you were talking about this a minute ago with your clients and getting to passion. And you mentioned the 3D and the loops and all of that. And I think people really, they think they know what their passions are supposed to be from a preconditioned perspective. And what's your passion? Oh, I like to play golf. Well, I mean, I like to play golf too, and I like to play golf, in Awakening. But I have a different appreciation for it now. I lost a lot of passions prior to my awakening that they don't click anymore. And it's that awareness of where when you really ask somebody to go inward, what what is your passion?
Well, part of it is the fact that they're filling other people's expectation and
Sure,
shoes and
sure.
um, pres- um presumptions of what life should be. And I'll give a really good example. I have a relative that I adore beyond words, who always shows up for me, and helps me when I need it in ways that I can't. And but he also has challenges in the love life area, and he always comes to me for advice. And I said, what is it like? What That shouldn't be your focus. You have to take your focus off of that, and you have to put your focus on things that you're passionate about, and that love will come to you. And we would dig, and I would be like, what do you like to do? He's like, I don't know, work. And I'm like, no, like you might love work because it's bringing in the money. I said, but we really had to narrow it down. And I still don't think he's fully recognized that it takes, something outside of, what we believe life should be. We really need to change
Sure.
our
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, you're a doer. And that's so important to recognize, doing from repetition and doing from purpose and passion, two different things. I think this is part of the reason why, one, we connected and resonated so quickly with each other. My birthday breaks down to a master 22 builder. I build things. That's what I do. And I think that's why we get along so well. And that building and that foundation is so pivotal. And I want to transition before we really dive into the eighth house mystery school, because you've got two other full projects. You've got the Divine 24 and the Evolve 24 community, which I know is the Discord server. So, but let's walk across the bridge before we
Yeah.
get to eighth house and tell us a little bit about those two pieces, because I know that helped build the foundation and led to where we're going to go.
So, so Divine 24 is basically my business, and Eighth House Mystery School will be under the umbrella of Divine 24. But the Evolve 24 community started when I had my podcast called Deep Thinker Society, and it was the Evolve 24 Productions, and anything that we created was under the basis of Evolve 24, which comes out to my master number, which is 33-6. So really, I'm like you. I'm all about the numerology.
I love it.
So when I was guided. The universe was like, hey, Lori, here's these people over here. And I met this couple. They were amazing. And they're like, have you thought about Discord as your foundation to create community? And I'm like, no Discord. No, that's teenagers, gamers. It's complicated. And I was like, no, but they showed me theirs. And I had used it for beta testing in astrology software, and I could see how it. But once I got in there and I realized it's not as complicated as people think. They should be using it on their computer, not their mobile device, for sure. It's definitely,
that's good to know.
yeah, it's a computer-based platform for sure. But within it, we've been able to create a calendar of events. We have a place for streaming a live classroom and sharing our screens as teachers do. We have places for the teachers to have their own groups for their classes. And then we have like the Reddit type forums where people could either post their own topics for everybody to talk about, or they could comment on others. And it's worked, you know. And as soon as it really started to shift and change, I waited for the universe to give the next sign. And I was like, okay, where am I taking the Evolve community next? And to clarify, so people understand, when they hear Evolve 24 community and 8th House Mystery School, even us as instructors, we are the Evolve 24 community. We too are growing. It's literally just the community hosting the 8th House Mystery School as a platform to learn. Whereas if we were to remove the 8th House Mystery School or add other types of platforms within the community, we still have our community, because the community is really what's going to make it happen. I've been guided to understanding that our world is way too segregated. And so we need to understand what it feels like when we're connected with people that are matching our energy, where we feel safe and where we can start to open up and learn and grow from one another. And so that is why it's an international school, because I feel like there are people around the world who feel just the way we feel, and we are disconnected over just distance. And I think that, you know, this Evolve 24 community will come together by meeting the instructors of the 8th House Mystery School, by meeting students from other countries, and really connecting and learning our differences, and yet how we're similar.
It's going to be more of a formal, traditional, online teaching experience across all areas of, I'll use a general phrase, metaphysics, if you will. But you've got a wide range of people. You've got metaphysical experts. You've got Reiki experts. You've got yoga instructors. You've got a large group of people coming together to put their perspective and their expertise in a learning format for those that maybe don't like the one-on-one route, maybe can't afford the one-on-one route, and want more of that community type involvement to be able to share, hear stories, hear lived experiences.
In the sense that there is a social media aspect, not in the same way where there's algorithms, but in the way that we can connect virtually. And we can create groups and chats. I want the students to enjoy what they're doing so much that they create clubs, just like in college, just like in, you know, high school, where maybe they meet people in their classes and they find out they all have something in common, and they create an astrology club, or they create an alchemy club, or something of that nature, and it becomes their own thing, right? Where they invite other people in if they feel called to it. I want that to be able to expand on their own organically. Of course, you know, we might emphasize, hey, you like this so much, why don't you go create a group, or why don't you go create a club, right? And then as far as other things they could do in the school, I mean, we have our school store, our Mystic Merchant store, where the instructors might have supplies that the students need for their classes, or school merchandise, or recommended books or spiritual tools that we will have for sale in there. We will have a transformational library, which is like a library, but very unique to, you know, our organization, in the sense that it'll have high vibe content. The library will be a library. You don't have to pay for what you find in there. We plan on having a reflection room, and it's a place where you could go in, put on your headphones, and listen to high vibe music, high vibe podcasts such as yours, and other, you know, high vibe content that helps us reflect. Maybe I've been creating a digital journal. I might be adding it to the reflection room. So while people are listening to podcasts, or, you know, high vibe music. They can channel what comes through from source. There will also be some guided meditations in the reflection room. And then we have a place called the Sacred Wall. And I felt like it really feels special to me in the sense that we all want to, and we're all learning. And that's the one thing all of the instructors have in common, is that we create our reality on what we put out into the world, what we believe. Excuse me. And so the Sacred Wall is an intentional space. We can go there and send out gratitude with a post. We can go there and put out something we're trying to manifest. We can go there and put, anything positive, a quote, a thought, so it's a sacred place for us to just go post without needing to post on other people's posts, or it's a sacred space.
I love it. No, that's perfect.
Yeah. And then there is the, classroom piece where they can go to the catalog and look through the various classes offered that quarter. We are doing quarterly classes. So they will run for 11 weeks, and then there'll be 2 weeks off where there's no classes, so that the instructors can come together in their own community and figure out what worked, what didn't work, so we can continuously make the school high vibe. It's also the perfect opportunity for us to engage and start going into the groups a little more often socially, and really connect with the students, let them know what's coming our way. And then I think I'm forgetting something about our platform. It will come to me.
What can you tell a little bit more in detail about the different professors and instructors that are coming in?
Yeah, so currently, and mind you, they're still coming, and I haven't said no to anybody because everybody is just so high vibe. We have Lillian, who goes by Isa, from the Philippines. She is wise on so many levels. She does Taoism. She's a doula. She knows Chinese medicine. One is M, and she teaches mediumship. And the other is a new instructor that I'm still working on, and she has Shivani. She has some unique ways of utilizing human design in your life. So she wants to, that's her passion. And then we have some people that we haven't met yet. We have some astrology people we haven't met yet, and some other classes we haven't met yet. And then the ones we do, we have yourself, a doctor of metaphysics. And then we have a couple others from the University of Metaphysical Schools to do their own specialty topics. As well as we do have a instructor who is specifically human design, teaching how to read your chart and learn about your chart, as opposed to Shivani, who's teaching how to apply it in your life in certain areas. Let me think. Oh, we do have a yoga instructor who is going to teach chair yoga and breath work.
Oh, awesome. I might take that one.
Yeah. And there's this, and then we have somebody who is going to teach how to tap into the Akashic records. So yes, a wide variety, and tarot classes, Beautiful. A lot.
Excellent. Can I share the class that I'm going to be teaching, since we finalized that beforehand? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I would love that.
I am going to be teaching a class called Metaphysics Made Real, Bridging the 5D to 3D, a grounded approach, an approachable and powerful breakdown of core metaphysics, energy, consciousness, intention. And it's going to focus on embodiment from the 5D to the 3D, being able to take what we love, what we do, what we feel in our meditations when we're really connected to source, and applying that to the 3D to help maybe break the loops, to break if you feel stuck, and to really embody the fact of, we don't have to be high vibe 24/7. That's not a reality. It's recognizing when you're having an off day or a low vibe day, catching yourself quicker, how to implement, how to integrate, and get yourself back to center, back to a grounded space, and working that into your daily reality, whether you're in the corporate grind, self-employed, whatever the case may be. So I'm very excited about putting that together.
I'm excited. I can't wait. I'm
Thank
excited.
you.
I think it's going to be amazing. Myself, I would love to be teaching the first quarter, but I think that I'm going to really
You've been
focus
a little
on
busy.
making sure everybody's adjusting well. But I do plan on teaching Astrology 101, the Cosmic Blueprint, but from the perspective of it as a human experience tool. So with the divination classes that I'll be teaching, they're all going to come from the perspective that, we come into this world for the human experience, and we come in with some things that are easy for us, and then we come in with some things that we're supposed to move toward, even though they're not easy for us, and tapping into what those tools are in order to help them learn to become passionate about something and then co-create their reality. And then I have a book called Activating Your Innate Wisdom. And my goal is to have a course where we utilize the structure of the book. It's actually really easy, really to the point, and really not complicated for early spiritual awakeners to grasp, and then journal our way through that book until we come to some sort of self-realization, and then be able to move on to other levels after that book is initially covered, and then creating a workbook to go along with it. So I'm super excited about doing that, because life is not as complicated or as hard as we believe it is.
So true. And it's so hard to put that, we can hear that. It makes so much sense. So hard to implement. I want to go back to something, because you've mentioned it quite a few times about journaling, and I'm a big journaler myself. And I want your take to see if you agree, if this is how messages sometimes come in for you. And one of the things that I coach my clients through on the importance of journaling is, especially if someone's never really written, if you will, it can take a minute to where you lose yourself within the journaling, to where what you just kind of just write, and you write without thought. As soon as you stop thinking about what you're writing, that next word is from source, is your higher consciousness, and that's when the pen just goes. I think that's where you can hear people saying maybe their penmanship changes, phrases that they've never used before can come out through journaling. Once you first get yourself into the repetition pattern of doing it, daily, in the morning, at night, whatever the case may be, but once you break that barrier, that's how that starts to come in.
Yeah, so I have two things to say on that. Number one is journaling is a tool for the human experience, and most tools for the human experience are a guide to meditation. And we could meditate jogging, walking, being in nature, journaling, doing art, playing music, creating music, drumming, right? Anything that turns off our monkey mind, as you were stating, when the voice changes, anything that turns off our monkey mind and we focus on the action, that is how we get into flow, and that is how we tune out of our monkey mind and tune into source. Because really what we're doing is, in any form of channeling, we are art or anything of creation is source, right? It's what we are, but we're opening to the pureness of it. So with journaling, the added benefit is that when we write something, we make it tangible. When we create art, it's very similar. So when we want to rewire our brain, we need to do something that becomes tangible, that we make it real and alive. So if we're journaling, even if we don't remember consciously what we're writing, we literally made it into something. We could go back to it if we needed to, but we wired our brain to it because we channeled it and we made it tangible. Same with art. When we do art and we set an intention, or if we allow flow and feeling and emotion, which sometimes doesn't have words, again, we're rewiring our brain. And that is why we also need to be really cautious of the energy we surround ourselves with and the energy we focus on. So